Hello, good evening everyone, and a very warm welcome to another stream with me, 320 Sim Pilot. And today we are going to be taking our brand new A321 NEO for a test flight around Toulouse. So this is really exciting. I'm really happy to be able to bring this stream to you guys thanks to the help of ToLiss, who have given us slightly early access. It comes out on the 15th, I think is the planned release date, 15th of December. It is a payware add-on for the A321 by ToLiss in X-Plane 11, but here we have it, fitted and working. Before we start the stream, I will also say this is a beta version. It's still a work in progress, obviously, so if we have any issues or so on, it doesn't represent the final product. It's just something that is still in progress, so they're still working through bugs for it. Thank you very much to Charles Chilcott for your subscription, and also for Keep Technic for subscribing. And I think a few others. I think the stream bot has suddenly gotten come to life suddenly, so there's lots of names appearing there. I do apologise. I shouldn't really do it like that, but there we go. So anyway, thank you all for your subscriptions. I hope you enjoy the stream if you are watching the stream, or video if you are watching that. I'll jump into the chat as ever. I'm going to try not to talk for too long because I know it took us over an hour to get everyone last time. So hello to Matteo Chewy, thanks for coming along. Matteo also a moderator with us here, so thank you, Matteo. I hope you enjoy the video. Victor Tango, good to see you. Inspector Gadget, off to get some Chinese food, so yeah, hopefully you enjoy that with the stream. Alexander Beck, good to see you. Interdimensional Lizard, Carter Joel, good to see you, Carter Joel. Carter did the good work and amazing work really of bringing us the NEO far earlier. We've had it for a few months available as a visual update for, or not update I should say, a visual mod for your 321 in X-Plane 11, and Carter did amazing work at that. So we've been enjoying those for the last few months, and now ToLiss have released their official payware expansion. This time we get the visual model, which Carter did a great version of already, but now we get the visual model of the Leap and the Pratt & Whitney again. But we also get, and I don't think this is Carter's model, this is ToLiss's own model, but we also get the some of the updated avionics. So there are some changes to the NEO system, as well as changes to the configuration and the fuel tanks, things like that. So there's lots to talk about today, and we will talk about it throughout the stream. As we go. I'll apologise about that stream bot alerts. I'll turn those off if they keep going too mad, but hopefully they'll be under control. I really don't know what it's doing. We seem to have a lot of new subscriptions suddenly. Right, so yeah, good to see you, Carter, and thank you so much again for your engines that you've provided us with all this time. Good to see you again here in the stream. Captain ACQ, note this is payware. Mateo Rosso, Gross Moon, good to see you as well. Alan Story, thanks for coming along. Dougal, another moderator, thanks for coming, Dougal. Tautukak, if I didn't say, and just so many names now, I do apologise. I'm sure I'll miss you. Yanis, I see you again. Right, this is getting a bit silly with the Streamlabs, which is the whole point of the Streamlabs, is that it actually sorts this sort of problem out. Carter says, this isn't my model, ToLiss model, but I'm looking to do an update to them in the future. Excellent. And yeah, we're looking forward to the ToLiss 340 to come as well, AGC 322. Aviaman, good to see you. Aviaman, along with Dougal, run the Simwings support group if you're aware of that. Link is in the description. Right. The water script I use, Yanis, is in the is available in the description. Sorry, I'm really struggling to understand. I'm getting a lot of alerts in my headphones, and I don't understand where they're coming from. So I do apologise. Right, so today what we're going to do, as I said, is just fly this airplane around from Toulouse back into Toulouse. We're going to do all sorts of things. I was thinking we might try a rejected takeoff, which I know is something they do on the new aircraft that they've built. We're going to take it up to flight level 150, look at some of the normal law sort of things. Then we'll fly it back down for an approach into Toulouse. We'll do some RLS, go around a VOR or an RNAV approach, some sort of non-precision approach, another landing, some things like this, maybe a touch and go, just to try out some things that we haven't really seen in live, certainly for a long time. So I've put the pressure on myself there to try and do a whole load of manoeuvres properly. So here's the visual model, which is probably what you want to see. So there you go. It's got this is the Leap, obviously, as written on the outside. So it's got the huge fan blade, and then the engine is actually the smaller sort of core just behind there. So yeah, really nice. It seems to be the big feature being the obvious size of it, much larger fan diameter on these modern engines, much more efficient as a result. And then as we go around the sides, you've got the more of the same, really. It's been updated with everything. You've got new cowlings, I think, No, I can't show you the reverse animation yet, but there is a reverse animation, of course. Got these various vents around the engine. I mean, it's so hard to describe. This is now the third version of the LEAP we've had, because I believe the Microsoft Flight Simulator LEAP engine is a LEAP engine on the NEO as well, so plenty of them around. But yeah, so this has obviously the higher pylon, which keeps the engine up because it's too low to the ground otherwise. You come around the back, you've got the exhaust of the cool air, and then the main hot exhaust where the core of the engine is exhausted out the back, and this little exhaust here which is always chucking out really dark smoky sort of stuff when you do your walk around, so it's something I always steer well clear of. I'm not entirely sure what it leads up to, but it's yeah, it can chuck out some serious sort of thick oily smoke at times. So there we go. So that is the addition. I think the tyres are a new update as well, to be slightly thicker, slightly grippier sort of looking tread. I think that's new, because I think they looked a bit smoother before. Abby man, good to see you. Thanks for coming along, and yeah, thanks for coming, and hopefully have a good evening wherever you go to. I think Abby man is streaming later tonight. So just jumping into the chat, are there going to be other changes to the ToLiss 321 apart from the NEO mod? I don't know, to be honest with you. I know the NEO mod was the thing for now, but there we go. Lots of people are excited for this update, which is great. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if those subs are all from then or from earlier, so I'm not sure what happens. But there we go. So we are looking at this. Well, yeah, maybe they are from now. If so, thank you all very much for subscribing, and sorry I can't get through all the names, but there we are. So that's pretty much the change on the outside that I've noticed so far. The NEO otherwise it's not too many differences, and they're pretty subtle anyway. Obviously you have the sharklets on all your NEO aircraft. If we go through to the other side, there should be 2 oxygen bottles, but I don't know, I haven't looked if that's modelled on here. No. So I think that's it for the inside. So now someone did suggest to me I go upstairs. Oh no, it's not working. I thought there was a way to do that. Alright, we'll skip that messing around, and we'll jump into the flight deck. So the flight deck as well, not much changes with the NEO. At first glance, there's a few minor things, such as the engine fan cowl latch keys aren't there. I mean, you're not going to see those when you're using your flight sim at home. But if we look around, what we'll notice is some really minor things. Obviously, we're going to run with N1, similar to the CFM engines. We don't have EPR, so you don't have the N1 mode buttons up here. I mean, that's the same between CFM and IE anyway. Otherwise, the reality is the ToLiss 321 they give you is quite a modern one. So it's got the modern sort of ADIS panel. So there are older versions around, but this is all pretty similar. Where some of the changes come in is if we go to the fuel page, you'll see this has got 2 auxiliary fuel tanks in it. And if I bring up the ToLiss ISCS, what we can do is I can choose all these different features. So we currently have the LEAP, obviously, CFM LEAP, and we're in the NEO subvariant. But I can go to NEO long range, and I can go to NEO XLR. So the difference being, you've got the NEO with no extra fuel tanks. Then you can have some 1, 2 auxiliary tanks. You can go to the NEO long range, which can then have 3 of these extra tanks, and finally the NEO XLR, which has the forward extra tank and also has another rear center tank. So this can hold, I think it's around 10 tons of fuel. The ToLiss did have this on their website. So these are some of the new features. So we have 3 NEO variants, which is not something I've seen before, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not familiar with the XLR or even the long range. So it's stuff that you guys will probably know more about than me. So just jumping into the chat, sorry if I've missed any more. Lux Aviation Spotter, there you go. Hopefully that answered your question. Yeah, we're in the standard NEO, but we can have long range or extra long range as well. Doesn't make much difference to the external picture, except for one thing. If we go back outside, this is quite cool. So there's the NEO, and if we look at the flaps, they change ever so slightly. The reason is the NEO 321 uses double-slotted, it'd be more obvious when the flaps are out, to be honest, double-slotted Fowler flaps at the back. The extra long range uses single-slotted because it's just less mechanism, less complexity, less drag, and it helps it get that range up. Range on the XLR is colossal. It's over 4,000 nautical miles, so yeah, they've done an amazing job getting this thing to have that sort of option around it. Carter Joel says they did include the Pratt & Whitney engines with this upgrade, and there's a 1.2 version which adds some fixes as well as the pounds weights. Yes, yeah, exactly. So the 1.2 version is free, but it doesn't include the NEO. The NEO is a payware update. There you go. There's the waste tank is far more to the rear for the additional centre tank. Oh, your colleague did this. There you go. Yeah, we have an Airbus engineer here. Excellent. Nice West. So there we go. Lots of things in here. Just to show you the visual model change as well for those LEAP engines plugins. Really easy as ever. I love the ToLiss ISTS. It's a really great system, and we're just going to swap them over to the Pratt & Whitney, and there you go. Much discussion when I first did a video with Carter's model about the green stripe, which I was totally confused about. There it is, green stripe on the Pratt & Whitney engines, whereas the CFM LEAP don't tend to have it. Slightly different. These ones look slightly grubbier as well. Maybe they're a bit older. These ones have a 2-minute cooling feature required after they've been run hot when you start them up, which is modelled in the ToLiss as well. So if you want to, I suppose you probably will have a quick view of the new engines. These are the Pratt & Whitney ones. Slightly different shape, similar idea, huge great fans, and slightly different sounds as well actually. There are sound effects with both of these add-ons, so we will listen to those today as we start up the engines, but there you go, slightly different model, but same idea. Huge great engines, massive great exhausts around the back. Great, so let's get rid of that. Let's go back to the LEAP, which is what I put on the thumbnail, and we'll go for a NEO because that's what I was expecting anyway. We don't need any centre tanks for what we're doing today. Oh yeah, the final external model thing. One last thing to show you guys. The 321 NEOs come with all sorts of door configurations. So if we are currently in, where is it, door config, classic. So this is how you'll see your 321s. 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of normal sized doors, which are used as exits. What the 321 NEO can do, and what the Airbus have done, is they've adjusted it. So now you can have this config where you've got one door, these two overwings, one door, and that can also be done as a single overwing. So the same idea, door, single overwing, door, and finally I think they have a full-on no door 3 at all. Yeah, that's crazy. So literally just one at the front, two overwings and one at the back. I mean, I'm sure it's all certified, and it will just depend on how many seats you want to put into your aeroplane. No green on their LEAP either, Carter. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely right. So, Chick Point, no worries. We haven't really got very far, but there you go. So that's the LEAP aircraft. And then the usual sort of ToLiss stuff, this great menu. You've got loads of things we can do, such as we can put the SATCOM antenna on or off, so no, and it just pops in and out. I don't know how they do this. I think it's great that you can have this set up like that. Aircraft age, let's make it nice and new, because it's obviously brand new. I do appreciate as well the livery in the most appropriate colour for any sort of aviation livery, bright neon pink. So good job Airbus on that one. And it does come with this livery. This is included with this the package I got anyway for the ToLiss NEO. So I think it looks great. And as I said, we've seen the NEO before, so let's go and give it a test and hear some of those new sounds and things like that. So jumping into the flight deck, what we're going to do today. Oh, yes, no, I had a problem. I thought I had it more set up, but I did not. So we're going to go from Toulouse, as you know, to Toulouse. This won't take long, I promise. Will be the Airbus 321. We won't be on VATSIM today anyway. Cost an X of 10. We'll do a departure up to flight level 150. And that will be fine. As usual, we've got the loadings and weights. So I'm going to go with 127 passengers, just sort of payload weight, and 10.5 tons of fuel. Let's drop that a bit actually. Let's do 10.2. Now, if we change the config, just to show you, if we go to a NEO XLR, look how much fuel you can squeeze on. We can have 28 tons. And then if I put another ACT on that, we can get to 31 tons of fuel. I mean, can you imagine? 31 tons, and the normal is 18. That's where it all started. So they're close to doubling the amount of fuel with all these extra tanks and so on. Yeah, but we won't need that today for what we're doing, I hope. Let's go for 10.2, which hopefully should be enough for what we're going to do. I haven't got a flight plan for this one, so I'm just making this up a little bit. So we'll go back to the NEO. Isn't this NEO house livery for the LR XLR? Yes, I think it is. But this is the one I've ended up with, so I assume that's how they ended up choosing it. I mean, go on then. I always get in trouble. Let's go for the long range. Just so we can have a look at those flaps when they're out. Remind me to swap them over. Right. Set config. Good stuff. I don't think too much else changed. You can see you'll get that 320 NEO upgrade if you have it in there. The rest of this is all exactly the same as far as I could tell. So, yeah, don't think there's anything else to show you there for now. So let's go to, we've done our init A data. So just check aircraft status. There it is. I'm on 2013. Init A flight plan. So let's depart from, we're going to use 14 right, which is the Airbus runway. I'll show you what I mean by that. Plugins, heavy tab, how are we doing for time? 16 minutes, good, good, thank goodness. LFBO. We are airports. Right, here we go. So Airbus is on this side, as you can imagine. Parking area of the Beluga, all that sort of stuff. So this is the passenger terminal. So I couldn't load here, unfortunately, in X-Plane. I should have taxied over if I was being more dedicated. But there we go. So what I'm going to do is taxi out and we'll take off, cross over and take off from 14 right, which should be good. Don't get to use that in real life, so a bit of fun for my own amusement. And then we'll take off. I think we'll climb up to flight level 150 and, like I said, have a look at some of the normal law stuff, because I haven't shown that in a video for a little while. It's always quite fun to refresh it. So let's go to departure, and I did select one earlier. I had to reload the flight sim, so I've lost it per mile. It was a per mile departure, and we're going to take off from 14 straight out south per mile. Excellent. So 14 right per mile 5 alpha. So not too much different here. The setup's pretty much the same. There are a few minor details that aren't quite as the NEO comes with, because the NEO has a slightly different system, basically a slightly updated system. So yeah. Right. That is a rough flight plan, so that's literally a departure, and then we'll come back and we'll do whatever approach we feel like. Secondary can be a copy, red no we're not going to use, init B. As I said, got a bit of weight on board and a bit of fuel, because I want to have something for the airplane to grip into. 68.7. And a CG 27.5. Plot fuel 10.2. And let's just check we actually have that on board. There it is, 10.2, our weights load in, loads of extra fuel for this sort of flight. Finally then, performance. We'll do a flat 1 takeoff, no shifts, flaps 1. Let's do a toga takeoff, why not? And we'll do 150, 150, 154. And what we'll do, I'm thinking, we'll start up, taxi out, and then we'll do a, that's not good, is it? Flaps 1 needs to go in there. That's better. It won't let me do that. You can clear out the flex in real life, I'm sure, but no matter, we're going to go to toga anyway, because you can't flex to 1. It doesn't work. The engines won't do that. The temperature's too low. But there we go. Cardajol says, what differences are there in the FMC on the NEO variants? So it's not just the NEO, it depends. So the 321 NEO sometimes has a more updated system. So for example, this next phase, where you click through to next phase, is replaced by, you just have to use these arrows instead. You don't select it on the screen. Just little details like that. And you'll see some of those in place shortly. Just minor details that you sort of don't remember them until you're sitting in the thing, and then you go, oh yeah. Which is sounds bad, but it's they're nothing too critical, but there's just little changes where Airbus have tweaked things around a bit. Okay, I think we're pretty much ready to go, so I'm going to actually let's jump outside. One last look. I wish I could make this smaller. I definitely have done in the past, but I'm not managing today. Oh, well, there we go. So let's do that. So there you go. So we're going with the double door format, and what we'll do is get rid of some of this ground handling. Please drive away from my beautiful new NEO, and we will close those doors. And leave the Lavabrink a donation. Wow, thank you very much. SEK, which is that Swedish krone? I do apologize if I get that wrong. 500, thank you very much. That's incredibly generous of you. And Leaf says, so sorry for not donating earlier. Your material is fantastic and you bring a unique angle into flight simming. Thank you very much for your world-class material. It cannot be valued enough. I learn so much every day. Keep up the great work. Wow, amazing. Thank you so much. Those are incredibly kind words, and I really appreciate it. And I'm just so glad that people enjoy it, because it's just great. It's always fun to share Airbus stuff. I say this every stream, so I apologise to regular viewers. But yeah, it's such fun for me to be able to enjoy streaming with people, and that you guys enjoy the tutorials as well. So thank you, Leith. That's really kind and really generous of you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Amazing. Yeah, thank you. Right. Oh, that's brilliant. Again, you guys are always just so generous. Sorry, I'm flustered now. Right. So let's do. I have to hide them eventually. You guys know that. Right, before we do anything silly now, let's get this APU up and running. Must switch on. Wait a little bit. Passenger seatbelt signs are on. I'm just imagining in the cabin we're just full of water bottles or something trying to weigh us down. The planes empty are never that nice. It's always better to fly anything when it's a bit heavier. Most airplanes handle better when they're heavier. Or certainly airliners that I've flown anyway. Right, APU is coming online. And I'm going to, what I need to do is go into here. And let me just bring up my checklist. There's no difference to the NEO checklist typically. One thing that isn't here yet, this is the old radar. The NEOs have a really nice radar, so maybe one day that will get changed around. But otherwise, yeah, a lot of this stuff is just options. We'll stick with 2000 squawk for today. Yanis says you need to press the use toga button. Yeah, good point. For your performance calculations, if I'm going to use toga, in theory I should do that. You'll see it drops the speeds by 2 knots. But I won't change it just because I'll make a point out of it, which is in real life you can go to toga whenever you feel like. So if you don't need to, like today where we can use a flex 58, but if you don't need to, you can just ignore it, and if you're not sure, just put it in. So actually what I should do, if I put in 58, which is the actual flex then now these speeds are more accurate. But now when we're taking off, I can just go to toga, which I think we'll do just for the first one, just to test it out. And we're going to do a rejected takeoff on the first one as well. Again, apologies in the chat. It's a really busy chat, so thank you all for coming along. Richard V, good to see you. Richard V, one of our long-time viewers and moderators, so good to see you, Richard. I hope you're doing well. Tango Data, did I say hi? Fly Guy 1, just Flex 58. Yeah, so everyone's come up with the flexing thing. Good point, everyone. Well spotted. But yeah, Eric says, is this kind of like an acceptance flight? Yeah, so acceptance flights, they'll do a rejected takeoff and loads of other things. I can't pretend to know. I haven't done one, so I won't pretend to, but that's the idea. Something a bit of fun, just something I haven't done before on the channel. Give us a chance to talk about the aeroplane more than having to brief or talk to VATSIM or anything like that. Ground services, we can get rid of external power. How are we looking then? So before start checklist, get that on. Fuel pumps are on. Good. Copy prep complete. Skip-ins removed. Signs are on and auto. ADIRs are in nav. Fuel quantity, we have our 10.2 tons. Is it balanced? Yes, it is. Takeoff data is set, and the BARRF 1013 is set. Windows doors closed. Check the thrust leavers are idle, which they are. Beacon can come on. Mobile phones off, thrust levers idle, parking brakes set. Great. So what we're going to do is get ourselves pushback. And I will stop talking so you guys can hear the... oh, don't do pre-plan. And we want to go this way. So you guys can hear the NEO engines.
Ground to cockpit. Blood knowledge. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
Excellent. We have a local pushback tug again, which is always good fun. So let's go.
To cockpit. Tow is driving up.
How is the audio for everyone? Nicky Boy, thank you for your subscription. Lucas says, how did you get the NEO? This was kindly provided by ToLiss a little bit in advance of its official release, so it is a beta version. Domsley says, would you say playing flight sim helps you stay in shape as a pilot to help if you can fly after Corona again? I think keeping your hand in at sort of just thinking about it, thinking about the flight deck, thinking about systems, thinking about procedures. Obviously, you'll need to revise the procedures anyway of your own airline, but using flight simulators can give you some help just to keep your mind working on those things and sort of simple mental calculations that you do day to day, just to remind yourself. I think it can help, certainly.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
They're connecting upstairs. Audio is good, says Victor Tango, which is great news. Excellent. There is a little bit of stream delay. There's a little bit. Alan Story, £10 donation. That's very kind, Alan, as well. Thank you very much. This new 321 looks great thus far. I need to get my ordering sorted. Yeah, so like I say, 15th December. But thank you very much for your contribution. Once again, Alan, to the channel. You've been incredibly supportive right since when you first arrived. So thank you so much once again, Alan, for supporting the channel. And hopefully we can keep bringing out videos that you guys like. That's the plan. But yeah, very kind as ever. Okay.
Now connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Let's get that brake released. There it goes.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Okay, I'm going to stop talking for a minute, and we'll just let the... Oh, here we go. This is an old bug. We'll just let the engine start up, and we'll do one from inside and then one from outside, so you see if there's any difference. So let's do engine 2. It goes quiet on the flight deck as the air conditioning packs to send air to the engine. And what I'm going to say, that sadly for you guys, that is probably pretty realistic. These planes are so quiet that you'll probably not hear much on the flight deck. So we'll do the other one on the outside for sure. What I would do actually, that took about 1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute for the Neos is pretty normal. Let's have another look. They are much hotter. You'll see the EGT limits are much higher, so it's quite a different sort of set of limits. Now that just means, it could mean the EGT is measured somewhere else in the engine. I don't know. But there we go. Thank you for your subscription to blah blah. Right. Engine 1, come in, and we'll do this one outside.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
There you go. Available. Ground crew wants the parking brake on. So yeah, that's
Connecting tow. Standby.
nice and quiet on the flight deck. These airplanes are really quiet. Slightly different on the outside. You get that sort of resonance noise, that drone just at that certain frequency as they're spooling up, which you do on the real ones. They do sound much bigger. They sound like 777s when they're starting up, when you're outside and you hear one. So yeah, so they've got that modelled in there, which is great. And the Pratt & Whitney have a different sound. I see a few of you asking about the cooling on the Pratt & Whitney, so we'll try that out later on in the stream. Victor Tango, thank you very much for your £10 donation. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel as ever. And Victor Tango says, a small token of gratitude for the great content on your channel. That's really kind, Victor Tango. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming along to so many streams as well. And thank you to all of you for supporting the channel today. It's really, really appreciated. And again, glad you're enjoying it. It's, it's always great to hear. Very kind, Victor. Thank you very much for the... have a nice flight. Yeah, we will try. Why does the Pratt & Whitney engines have the cooldown period after start? It's to do with, I believe it's to do with a sort of bending of the shaft in the middle of the engine, I think. So there's longer warm-up times on sorry, startup times on all the NEO variants. Actually, they are pretty slow if they have been run already. So if they shut down from hot, then you have to sort of cool them whilst you're starting them up. Certainly the Leaps have a longer motoring time, that's called. But the Pratt & Whitney I'm not familiar with, so it's going to be guesswork from me. There's our wave. Good news. So I'm looking forward to trying it, really. We'll try that a bit later. Okay, so we've had our wave. Let's do this. The engines are definitely online. APU, master switch. We don't need the anti-ice. Arm that. Reset that. Set our flaps to 1. 1, please. Thank you. That should be a transponder. And takeoff CG today. 28.6. So far, so normal. But I can show you a couple of differences in a minute. Yeah, 28.6 pretty much, as ever, pretty much where we were. Right. Do the Leaps not require a minute of dry motoring as well? I thought the 737 MAX had that. Yeah, so the Leaps do have motoring. Sometimes it can be up to a minute, absolutely, Amy. It is only when the engines are warm, though. So when they're cold and they haven't been run, the Leaps don't motor at all. They start up in about a minute. They're quite quick. But you're absolutely right. They do need to be sort of motored over without adding fuel for a little while when they're hot. And the computers, the FADEC works all that out. It's very clever. But you just have to be ready for that. So yes, this is the beta version of the NEO. Let me just swap over the chat so I get the right one. There we go. Carter says, but I also know that the motoring changes depending on the temperature at your departure airport. Yeah, exactly. We don't calculate it. The motoring is done by the FADEC, the Full Authority Digital Engine Control. I think I got that right. So that controls a lot of that stuff. So let's just jump to a passenger seat. That's the new view. And you should be able to hear the engine. What I should do, let's see. I don't want to mess too much of the sounds. Let's crank up the engine volume, shall we? Be a shame not to. I'll give us a little rev. There you go. Oh, didn't like that. No, we're not trying to take off. We're just playing with the audio. Okay. So 3-minute warm-up on the engines, even when they're cold. Slightly different warm-up times to the older style engines. They don't need quite as long. Tom B says, are you flying in real life? Very rarely at the moment, but hopefully as the new year comes in, a bit more often. Time Walker says, the weather radar should be working now like in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'll have to give it a go. It's not the same the new weather radar, but anyway. Engine on ignition, great point. That needs to go back there. So what changes now? Well, you can see it. Anyone notices what's the difference on this screen from our older style engine display? Amy says, didn't realise Pratt & Whitney's needed motoring even when cold. Yeah, well, I don't know if they do. That's a good point. I don't know. Thomas Mortimer, good to see you, Thomas. Thanks for coming along. Should be dual cooling on the Pratt & Whitney engine, so you can cool both at the same time, then start one at a time. Interesting. The beta is not public. I have not tried the 350 yet, but it's going to be on the channel soon. This is default sound, so these are the new ToLiss provided sounds using the ToLiss system. So hopefully that works. Engine plane engine ASMR. I'm sure there's some of that out on the channel. The sound is juicy, says thank you. That's it, absolutely. Pax, there you go. Carter's got it. Pax on top. So it gives us information about the load on the engines on the engine display. So well done, Pax. Absolutely. Quite subtly hidden there. And there's one more we can do. If we turn on the engine anti-ice, it will say nacelle anti-ice. So it just provides a backup to your performance sort of calculations to make sure you know whether what systems you have loaded on there or not. So something Airbus decided they wanted to add. So there it is. So we've got the Pax on. If I turn the Pax off, that will disappear. It goes very quiet. There we go. Right. How long has it been? 34 minutes. Oh, I've got to get airborne. I got in trouble for my last stream where I took too long. Max. Oh, actually, what am I doing? Okay, so we're going to get you out and we'll do a rejected takeoff to start with, and then we'll go and take off. So let's get taxiing. So after start check is to come, which I'm going to need to keep referring to today so I don't miss anything silly. Anti-ice is off, ECAM status checked, pitch trim is set, and rudder trim is at 0. Let's taxi. So we'll put on those nose lights. Time of day in the sim is a little bit unrealistic. Brakes released. Off we go. I'm running it at a peculiar time of day. Just early morning. There we go. You can enjoy some more ASMR. Yeah, so they've done a great job on those, the engine audio. I really like it. Look at that view, fantastic. That's reassuring, isn't it? When you're sat in an airplane, you get that sort of view. You feel like it's got the grunt to get you where you're going safely. Oh, better stand on that centre line. Willing says that Leaf donated about 40 to 50 US dollars. Goodness me. No, 60 US dollars. That's, yeah, very kindly. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. You get that dark magenta colour on the donation at the top. But thank you very much. Idle FF is lower than on the CEO. Yeah, the fuel flow is lower now. So you can see about 290. There's something, the ToLiss doesn't quite model. It never has some of these things. Like if you turn off the bleeds, things like that, the fuel flow would reduce slightly. The engines have to put slightly more fuel in when they're doing these sorts of things. So, oh, let's get those on before I shouldn't fiddle too much. This is a beta version, so I don't want to break it before we head out. Right, let's do some flight controls. Not much exciting to say about that, to be honest. We'll do our full left, full right, neutral, full down, full up, neutral, auto disconnect, full left, full right, neutral. Good stuff. Get that weather radar on. Like I say, this is, you wouldn't see a weather radar like this on a NEO transponder to TARA. And there are all sorts of clever things that this plane can do. It can check that you're actually at the right sort of intersection if you want, if you pay for the RAS and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, so on the XLR variant, Tango Delta says, wonder if the brakes, landing gears were beefed up to handle more weight. On the XLR, they absolutely are. A lot of people don't realise the 321 already has beefed up, we're going to take a left here and cross that runway. It already has beefed up wheels compared to the 320. It's got bigger tyres and things like that. It's good to know my control bindings have worked. I was a little bit worried I'd messed that up. I'm not sure if that's Airbus's storage facility or what it is. There's no belugas in today, sadly. I always like to see those. Right. Looking left, all clear. Looking right, as clear as it can be. So yeah, it looks like the sun's setting, but it's actually coming up. I wanted to make sure we're in the daylight. Put the strobe lights on while we cross the runway. So we've got our 150, 154, climb nav blue, and something else we're going to have now. Next change for the NEO is when we go to max auto brake. There it is, brake max. You get the auto brake mode armed shown underneath the engine display. Sorry, the auto thrust mode up here, which is quite interesting, really. It's a strange thing for them to add, but it's only on the 321's NEOs that I'm aware of. Oh, it's window seat coming along. Window seat. The Leap engine has the gearbox inside the fan cowl area, whereas the Pratt & Whitney sits under the thrust reverser, left side rear, so it's more hotter and runs cooling. There you go. Good to know. Thanks, Window Seat, for coming along. Hope you're doing well. Window Seat, otherwise known as Lord P on the Discord. Apparently on the A380 some white noise is implemented as the cabin is too quiet. I love the A380 cabin, it's so quiet. But I'll tell you what, if you go on a 321 NEO, it's really quiet as well. Much quieter than they used to be. The flight deck's always been pretty quiet on the 321 just because it's so long. Okay, what else should we do? So, yeah, a little plan then. So we're going to take off, climb 6,000 feet initially, but actually I'm going to make that straight up to flight level 150. Just to go up and do some normal law stuff. Won't take us long to get there. Just so you can see a sort of standard climb in this thing. It's got updated performance, updated fuel flows and so on, so we'll just see that. Not something, to be honest, as pilots we worry too much about, because we pretty much look at the flight plan and yeah, we'll probably notice, oh, it normally takes this much fuel to get between these two places. and suddenly it's taking a bit less. But in fact, a bit less. It is a good chunk less. It's quite impressive. Things like the final reserve fuel as well are much lower. Final time 1 ton, yeah, for a 321. It's normally about 1.2 to 1.4 on a CEO. So there you go. So that's about 200 kilo saving already just for the final reserve fuel. This is not payware Toulouse. This is default X-plane Toulouse. Mr. Espresso, how cool would it be if Airbus would just lend my A321 now that so many are grounded to see if flight sim skills are of use in real life? Yes, that would be fun. I'm sure there'd be a bit of a queue to do that, but yeah, it would be great. So let's have a look at that. So this will mount the bulb. Yep, there it is. It sits down there. Oh dear. This bulb here where the gearbox is. So that, what happens is the engines obviously turn, and then attached to the engine is an accessory gearbox which drives things like generators, hydraulic pumps and all that sort of stuff. So it's quite pronounced on the LEAP engine because it actually sits slightly outside the cowling. You don't see it too much when you do your walk around, to be honest, because if you think your head's probably about here, these things are just so big. But yeah, they are modelled. I think it's a bit too pronounced on the Microsoft Flight Simulator 320, to be honest with you. I think this is a bit more realistic. Right, there we go. Cheat with the refueling in flight, is Anna's story. Probably. I imagine you could just top up extra fuel. Okay, here's the runway. So, poor takeoff checklist is the last thing I need to do. That's a bit fast there. Bring it to a stop. Run that checklist, and then we'll get ourselves into the air. I'm going to have to do a replay. Oh, actually, I don't know if the replay works yet with the sounds. Come on. What have I done to the brakes? I'm not sure. Oh, that's weird. It was working 2 seconds ago. Let me just check I've got the smart brake thing on. As I said, this is a beta version. Use smart brake. Okay, great. So, before takeoff checklist, flight controls have been checked, flight instruments checked, briefing confirmed, flap settings config 1% green, config 1 in the box. FMAs and takeoff, we've got brake max now, and climb and nav blue 152. 150, 154, up to 15,000. Transponder is set. And finally then, ECAM memo. Bing bong the cabin crew. Give it takeoff config. Takeoff no blue. Cabin secured. Engine mode select can be at normal. TCAS TARA. PAX on. And we'll leave that and we get that PAX memo. Great stuff. Right. Let's do it. Okay. Don't know what's going on there. That's been an old glitch for a long time in my X-plane. Let's get ourselves onto the runway. And again, I won't say anything for the takeoff. We'll just get ourselves in the air. And I'll try a replay, but I don't know if the audio will replay properly. If not, I apologise. I'll put it into a video at some point. Probably not. The nose probably didn't cross the line. We've tried it out in other streams, and it's amazing how far back you can be. Right, I'm going to stop talking. Let's get ready to take off. So, same thing. We'll do 50% N1, just as we sort of did before. So let them spool up for a second, and then I don't know why my brakes have stopped working suddenly. That's a bit disappointing. What am I missing? Okay, well, we'll deal with that another time. So yeah, same thing as before. I'll stop talking. Here we go. There you go, autopilot 1 in. So yeah, nice sort of high-pitched whine, which we've seen on a few other mods as well, and they definitely capture that here. So what do we do there? Well, we did our positive climb, gear up. Yeah, Carter, I realised just as we were taking off, I said I'd do a rejected takeoff, but I think it's good to get in the air now, so we'll remind me later, and we'll try and give one of those later. Right, we're accelerating now. Something else you'll notice, I don't know how obvious it is, but the flap speeds are, or should be, slightly different. So flap 1, instead of 230 now, it's 238. The flap 1 plus F225. Instead of, I think it's 215 normally, yeah. So this allows us to be heavier because now I can keep the flap out, and it does auto retract at 210 still, and then we get above our green S, and you see we've got nice margin up to that red bar because the new flap limiting speeds all been increased for this extra weight, which is so useful on the real airplane. It makes life really simple, especially when you're doing a heavy sort of landing. And we're going to set standards and climb at flight level 150. Brakes aren't working anyway. Yeah, the brakes aren't working anyway. It's a good point. It wouldn't be much much good. We're going to try that. I will try that later on because, like I say, we're not going anywhere. So this is all just for our own amusement. We're going to go straight up to 150, which will be out in no time. Let's get some other views. Ariel, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. I hope you're doing well. Plenty of other people. Apologies if I've missed a few hellos. Lovely. Right, so soon we'll be at 150. Let's. We've got the flaps up. So what I should have done is that, and get rid of. Didn't even get all the lights on. There we go. We did get the strobe lights on. Luckily, get those all off. And we'll go up to 150. Window seat is talking about static wicks. Now that's a great question. Oh no, there are static wicks. Window seat's talking about the static wicks there. They provide a way for static electricity that builds up on aeroplanes as they fly through the air to be discharged back into the atmosphere. If you don't have them, they can affect the radios, things like that. Having said that, the 321 NEO, and I believe it's only the 321 NEO, so I'm sure Window Seat can correct me, doesn't have them on those flap fairings. It has them on the aileron still, and on the sharklets, but not on the flap fairings, which is a really subtle change, but they seem to still be there. Yeah, if we could get a like or two on the video if you're enjoying it, please. It does help the channel a lot, as you all know, in the YouTube algorithm. Mysterious world. Right, so what's the plan from here then? Well, what we're going to do is, I think we'll just go and look at some normal law protections. Just check they all work. 320 NEO doesn't have as well, says Window Seat. There we go. Literally unplayable, says Eric. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Crazy performance as well. You do notice it. The Neos have better climb performance, no doubt, in my mind, because they just roar up. And in fact, the most noticeable difference on a Neo for us is, we'll leave the seatbelts on for what we're about to do actually, is when you set the thrust for takeoff, when you spool up to 50% and then release the brakes and then you set the takeoff thrust, the way it grips, it's like being in it's like it's got more torque, and I'm not saying that in an official capacity. I have no idea if that's true, but it goes better. It just pulls itself away from the start line. It's really good. Speed out stuff. So I really like flying them. I really like flying them a lot. Does it feel different? They don't really feel that different, I must admit. There's something different in the rotate law. That's the one thing I will say. There's a thing called a rotate law in the NEO aircraft from Airbus. So, you guys familiar with the normal 321 and 320s in flight simulators? You'll know that when you rotate, you're sort of doing a ground law. You're just moving the flight controls directly until you get into the air, and then it turns into normal law, which is what we're about to talk about. However, in the 321 and the 320 NEO, there's a change to that, where actually when you rotate, the side stick commands an angle of rotation, an angle of pitching the nose up. So you don't have to do that thing where at about 10 degrees in the older aircraft you have to pull slightly more to get the nose to go through there, because the tail enters ground effect, which can change the way it takes off. So there we go. I won't talk too long about that, but there's a slight difference in takeoff. Aside from that, it's a bit easier. You just pull it back to a certain position and then stop. So normal law then, we haven't talked about this for a while. I'm just going to stay in the rough area of Toulouse. So let's do autopilot off, flight directors off, and bird on. So now we're flying with, the little bird shows us our angle through the air, so that's 0 at the moment. It's sitting on 0, which gives us flight level 150 level. So this is where the Airbus is really clever. We're going to take out the auto thrust as well, and I'm going to move those. And as you'll notice, and as you'll all be familiar with, it will actually keep roughly the same altitude, because it's going to try and fly at 1G. So the side stick, then left at neutral like it is now, is commanding 1G. So obviously 1G is just sitting still. You're sitting in your chair now, you're experiencing 1G. So the Airbus works in normal law by commanding 1G the whole time until you move the side stick. So if I push down, I command less than 1G, and the aircraft will start a bit of a descent, like that. And when I pull back, it commands more than 1G. So that's the principle for pitch in the Airbus normal law. And this stuff isn't really different from the CEOs, but it makes it really stable aircraft to fly. It also is why we have automated trim. Now the trimmer isn't the only thing that controls the airplane. The flight controls are controlled through this as well. So the flight controls are moving and the trim is working, all of these sorts of things. But yeah, you don't have to trim, and you're not directly moving the flight control surfaces as you would be in a more conventional airplane. And now if I stick on loads of thrust, put that bird back on the horizon, there we go, it will just start accelerating and then trimming forward for us. No problems at all. Really simple, really nice system, lets you focus on flying. I really like it. In roll, it's something weird as well. You're not directly controlling the flight controls as you would be in a lot of other aircraft. All you're doing is commanding a rate of roll, so say 1 degree a second or 5 degrees a second, something like that. 5 degrees a second would be pretty high, I imagine. That'd be about that. So as you can see, I move the side stick, I command a rate of roll, and the Airbus delivers. It just does exactly what we ask of it. Something slightly different is if we go too far, it will actually get upset. So it will stop working like that about out here, and if I let go, it goes back to 33 degrees bank. So this will also hold the roll you leave it at. So if I set 20 degrees of bank, and you can see that here, there's 0, 10, 20, 30. Set 20 degrees of bank, it would just hold it there. Put the nose down, hold it level there. And that's good 559, thanks for coming along, good to see you. And then we can hold it there, and same if I go to 30, it would just hold that. And you'll notice it's not even descending. In a normal aircraft you'd have to pull back, you'd have to apply trim, don't have to do any of that because it's still doing 1G in pitch, remember, 1G. If I go too far, that will stop working, and then I'll have to start pulling back on the side stick as well to maintain altitude, because you're not really supposed to be flying the aircraft out here. I can't roll past 66 degrees, which is what those green eyebrows are. There it is. It won't go further even with the side stick fully over. Alright, let's put it back somewhere a bit normal. Slow it down. If I try and overspeed, it will actually pitch the nose up slightly, and if I go too slow, it'll start adding thrust for me. It won't let me stall in normal law. I won't show all that today. I have a video about it on my channel, Normal Law, so if you guys want to watch that, that's there. It's interesting. Well, the topic is interesting. I don't know if my video is interesting or not, but there you go. So this is why flying the Airbus visually is such a pleasure, because you can just point the airplane like this, it just does it. You can put the nose down, it just does it. and then it holds it there. It holds that pitch, it holds that roll. Final thing to talk about, and something that's perhaps even more relevant with the NEO style aircraft, is the size of these engines. Because they're so big, they're quite low down, and with this design, if you add thrust here, you get a thrust vector below the centre of gravity, which will be, I don't know, somewhere here. So if you add thrust below it, it's going to actually rotate the airplane and the nose will try and come up. So in a 737, if I go full thrust like this, the nose will go right up into the sky. In the Airbus, none of that. It just does it now. It's amazing. And you'll see it on the back. If I take the thrust off, the nose should drop. And instead, you can see the elevators doing it. I'm not doing anything. They'll hold the nose where it should be. It's brilliant. Really works nicely. Nice. West says, are you using a joystick? I'm using the Thrustmaster HOTAS 4. Thank you for your subscription to Demetris Go. Right. Let's see. It shouldn't be a different flying because the emphasis in the fly-by-wire correct. Otherwise, you'd have to recertify. Or well, maybe I've got the wrong. Maybe I missed the conversation. But yeah, it's. Let's see. Why is the flex temp so high on the NEO compared to the CEO? I found the menu wanted 58 for takeoff. I'm not sure if that's correct yet or not. Actually, FlyGo 1. I'm not sure. Enrico Bianchi, thanks for coming along, and I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Right. Victor Tango says, in terms of sensitivity and feel, let's get some thrust back on. Autopilot on. Actually, let's do it properly. So, if you're flying along like this, like I was doing just there, and you want to rebuild, so you could end up in this situation after, for example, a TCAS, although you probably have the auto thrust on. So let's put the auto thrust back on. Put that there, speed, auto thrust. How do we rebuild? Well, I want to be back at flight level 150, and I want the flight directors on to do that. So the easiest way, I find, if I point the airplane down slightly, just let that nose descend, so we're pointing roughly towards the flight level we want. Turn on the flight directors, so both on. You can see FPA -1 track. That's all reasonable. I can even change it to heading modal speed, even better, 600 heading. Let's put on autopilot 1, and there you go. So point it back to roughly where you want it gently. Stick on both the flight directors and get the autopilot in, and now we're in a normal place. So we've got speed, heading, vertical speed, and it's going to capture flight 150. Thank you for subscription to Moran Carl. Victor Tango says, in terms of sensitivity and feel, is the real size stick very different from the one we're using the sim? If you're talking about the way the airplane handles, no, I like the way the ToLiss handles. If you're talking about the way the actual controls feel, yes, the real Airbus is very heavy compared to most side sticks at home. The exception being the Thrustmaster HOTAS Warthog. I think that has a good weight to it and is similar, but that's all metal. Right, time then. We've been going for an hour, so yeah, I think it's time to go try and approach into Toulouse. So we'll start off. What should we do first? Should we do an RNS? We'll use Airbus's 14 right runway. And we're off to the south. Is there a Permal arrival? I wonder. No, it doesn't matter. We don't need any of those, but we can come via. Let's see if Ablis works for us. As I said, no flight plan today. This is purely our own entertainment. Maybe not via Ablis. Via a demo. There we go. That'll take us downwards. And insert. Now I'm going to go direct to a demo. This is not how you ever end up flying in real life because I'm basically making this up, but there we go. So now we're going to take ourselves downwind and fly an ILS onto 14 right. It's already activated the approach phase, so that's a bit early, we'll do this 270 knots. So we're going to do a couple of approaches in the NEO, then we'll swap engines and try out the Pratt & Whitney, maybe a rejected takeoff if I can get the brakes to work properly. Fantastic. Question has come up. Oh, that's interesting. There you go. So it's showing us the normal protections here. I must have lent on the controls as I was fiddling there. If that's come out, that's probably caused that ding. So yeah, it won't let you overspeed. It will just sit at the bottom of the overspeed bar. Not good practice to try that, but there we go. We did it. Let's get rid of these charts then. Get ready for an RNS. Don't need that one. Arrival. No, just go for the approach chart. RNS 14 right. Final approach. There it is. And it looks like there is a conventional arrival 14 right. Is that the one we're going to do? Could be by Tango Oscar Echo, Lasbo. Looks like it's going to fly a bit of an arc, so yeah, we'll do that one. Great. So by Tango Oscar Echo, and then we can be down at 3,000 feet if we want. Okay, good stuff. So let's get ourselves downwind. Let's go to Lasbo, and we'll descend to 5,000 feet. So QNH 1013. Oh no, not like that. Chris L says, I can see the normal raw fly-by-wire is super convenient, but don't all pilots learn on conventional aircraft where they learn to expect adverse yaw, reaction pressure, etc.? Of course, so all pilots will learn on a conventional airplane, but by the time you've done your you do 40 hours in a simulator to learn the Airbus, when you start doing that, you get used to it very quickly, and it just takes something out of your hands really. So I didn't find it confusing to convert to. I don't know anyone who has really. It just takes some stuff away from you really. So it's not confusing as much as just it's just nice, it's convenient, and it helps you out, especially in high workload situations, and it makes it a real pleasure to hand fly. Really nice. I know some people don't like it, and that's fair enough. I can see why, but there we go. Dougal, glad you're enjoying the stream, Dougal. You have to pay for this add-on, VIP Freddy. Yes, you do have to pay for this one. More with virtual cabin. I think we've got a bit of time. We're about to head downwind. Can we just scoot out? I haven't actually... Looks like it's the same as the other one. Although obviously no doors. Although they do still have the two seats. I don't know if you can change the sort of livery on the inside, but yeah. Love the sharklets. I really like them. I think they look really, really serious. Although they do make it look like the wing is bending a lot more. We will look at those flaps as well. We'll change the variant in a minute once we've done this approach. So this approach then, going to be pretty standard. Where is it? There we go. We'll head downwind, and then we'll fly the ILS 143. Let's just check it's all in here. Yeah, good. TBS 1107. TBS 1107, course 143, 142. Yeah, close enough. That'll work for us today. And co-located DME. Yeah, ILS DME. Glide slope is hopefully 3 degrees. Yep, 3 degrees. Put in our weather. QNH still 1013. Temperature 15. Wind, I think it's just down the runway 5 knots. And MDA on this one, 688. For the go around, which we will do, we're going to go around, climb 143 to 2 or D1 5.1 from TBS, then left turn 017, climb to 4000 to intercept and follow 332 from the TOW and DB. Proceed to radio at 0272 to Netro or as directed. So 4,000 feet is our stop altitude if we go around. That is a complicated go around, but the magic of the ToLiss and the real Airbus is that it has all of this loaded into it. So we'll just check it does that. So there we go, straight ahead, 143 from 2, then turn left 017, intercept 332 to TOW NDB, and then proceed 027 to Netro. There we go. Magic. 8D2 as you can see there. Bob Atwell says, how often IRL do you hand fly visual approach? I assume you need to do that occasionally to maintain the skill. Absolutely. If you can have an airport that allows it. Not all airports allow it. But yeah, we've done it on the stream once or twice. We'll go for the low water brake. Actually, we'll go for medium water brake. Yeah, it's something that we do if you can. If you have a nice place that's not got any terrain in the way or anything like that, and you can just fly, bank around the turn. It's great fun. Yeah, really nice. And the magic is the Airbus is trimming for you. It doesn't let the rate of descent get too silly or anything like that. Okay, we're downwind. We've got the approach phase activated. Again, it's 5,000 feet. We went through 10,000 feet, so these lights should have come on. And the LS button comes on. And have we activated the approach phase? We have it automatically activated, so that's good. Do a config full landing this time. Although we're going to go around anyway. Great stuff. So what we'll do is we'll fly downwind and then we'll just let it fly the approach as it is. You can see once again brake medium appears in the NEO, so ToLiss have done a great job getting that accurate. One thing that I have seen that isn't simulated fully yet is weirdly, when you set the go around altitude in a 321 NEO, it actually sets it in white on the PFD instead of blue. It goes white. Now we're going to do a go around off this approach, which I haven't done on the channel for a little while now. So what I'm going to do is, in real life you'd call go around flaps, because we're going to go around by moving the thrust levers all the way to toga. The other pilot will bring the flaps in one stage, so we'll be full, so we'll go to 3. Then we'll wait for someone to say, well, and hopefully pilot monitoring will see positive climb and we'll get the gear up. And then as we're climbing away, we're going to make sure that these modes have all worked. Now, in the NEO, there is a feature called a soft go around. So when we do all of that, the airplane will climb very quickly. Very quickly. And if you have a level up altitude that's quite close to you, it will actually be quite tricky to get the airplane to level off there and also not go too fast to the flaps and so on. So in the NEO, Airbus added a feature that lets you bring the thrust levers from toga back to flex, and then it will do what's called a soft go around, where it targets a vertical speed, I think it's about 2,500 feet per minute. It's a very specific number, and it just targets that instead of full thrust go around, and it meets the criteria. If you have any issues or an engine failure, you've got to use a full go around anyway, full toga thrust. But yeah, it's just something. It's not modelled yet. It's not modelled yet, so it won't work. Excuses apply. Yeah, good point. So excuses. Well, I've got a great excuse today. This is a 321 NEO, so we haven't flown it on the channel before. So that's my excuse. Matthew Farrow says, why do airline SOPs differ? Is it just preference or senior training captain, or is it more scientific? Who decides? Oh, it would be based on thousands of pages of paperwork and experience, and depending on what the airline does, where they fly in the world, what incidents they've had in the past, and what aeroplanes they have, what fit of airplanes they have, you know, all sorts of variations. And then they have to get certified by their government. So yeah. Do you mind showing the ECAM RCT on the fuel page? So we don't have an oh no, we do. I'm in the LR. Yeah. Which one are we in? I've totally forgotten now. We changed it so many times at the start. We're in the long range. So that's just an ACT. That's not the additional tank of the XLR. So you get one of those, which is available on the 321 normal. CEO, I should say, not normal. Darian Naho, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. David Plays, good to see you here. Victor Tango, sorry I missed Victor Tango's off, but I hope to see you in another stream soon. Victor Tango, thanks for coming along. Thanks for your subscription to Dennis. Paul Z Yang, hello. Thanks for coming along. Minimum excuse attitude, yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. So here we are then. Now let's get down to 3,000 feet. We're too fast anyway for this approach. We should be managed speed, let it slow down, thrust idle, open descent. And as you can see, we're going to be 15 miles, 5,000 feet, but we're doing 270 knots. So once again, those higher flat speeds are ideal, because as you can see, instead of it being 230, it's 239, is it? 238, yeah. So we get extra margin to put out flap 1, because we need to be below that amber eyebrow. That's showing us the next flap limit. Right, we're pointing inbound to the airport, arm approach, and the second order pilot, Cat 3 dual AP1 plus 2. Now, if you see this situation, so we're 13 miles, 250 knots, which is too fast, and now we're clean and about to join the glide slope speed. Glide slope's our lock star, so we are way too fast, way too fast. So 321, we can use full speed brake. In the real aircraft, that would bring up VLS. So in the real 321, what's good to do is get that speed back, and then once you get the slats out, this amber line here, which is VLS, will go away. So let's go flaps 1. And now I need to get below the next amber eyebrows to get up the next stage of flap. So how are we going to do that? Because I'm in managed speed with these dashes, and my speed target is S, so the airplane will try and fly at S. So as we get closer, it's going to automatically spool up. Get rid of that page. I'm going to help it slow down by putting the gear down. The best way, I've got a video coming out soon where I show some of these techniques. It's actually an RNAV video, but yeah. So now you're going to see the engine spool up, because it's going to try and target S speed. So that's no good. So let's select a speed lower. No problem with doing that. Flaps 2. We're on the glide slope now, so let's set that going altitude, 4,000 feet. There it is. Now we can go back to managed speed, keep letting it slow down. Gears down. So if we put out any more flap, I wonder if it works. I'm going to put out the next stage of flap. In the real aircraft, the spoilers retract. Yes, there they go. So that wasn't me. So ToLiss have done a great job with that. You can't have spoilers and flap 3 in the 321. So they're not doing anything, so we'll put those there. And flaps to full. Right. Approach checklist. We're going to just run through briefing, confirmed ECAM, seatbelt, Sparrow, MDA, and engine mode selected done. So landing checklist, cabin secured, auto thrust is in speed mode. Go around altitude is 4,000 feet set, and ECAM memo, just the cabin ding dong. ECAM memo landing there blue. Does this plane have model toilets as willing? Yeah, good question. I'll have to go and have a look at some point. we did that on our last A300 flight. And there's our go around, and we'll go from the go around and go and do a non-position approach to see the differences. So this is all very pleasant, isn't it? All very nice. RLS is got that go around altitude above us. So something I always do on final approach now, once you're fully configured, and if you've got a spare second, is just check. It's the flight plan sequence. So is the next waypoint in front of us, which it is. It's white. It's LFBO 14 right. So that's good. Do we have enough fuel? Yep, we've still got 8.8 tons, loads of fuel for a go around. Have we got the go around altitude set? So yes, it is. That's 4,000. Right. That's going to take us downwind. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Let's get a nice view from the outsides. Oh, I should really... no, I want to do a go around from both views, really, get the sound effects. Cabin ding dong does not sound like the right term. No. The reason I called it that is just because in the real aircraft, of course, the cabin crew will have their own procedures. There's no... You don't have to call them for that message to go green. They'll put it green when they are ready. So we don't actually ding them. You only ding the cabin crew if you need to talk to them, typically, because there's, for example, they haven't pressed the button in time. Right. Oh, it's going to be gloomy suddenly. Okay, so let's say we've had enough of this approach and we're going to bin it, so you might have time to think about it. Not always, but if you have the chance, just think what you're going to do. So we're going to put the thrust levers to toga. We're going to move the flaps in one stage. Positive climb, gear up. Get it into nav mode. Reasons why it might go around could be that we were unstable, could be the tailwind is out of limits, could be someone's on the runway, could be a fault with the airplane that suddenly appeared, like a brake fault. So let's go around. Go around flaps. There we go, thrust levers to toga, we get Mantoga SRS, go around track, back to autopilot 1, flaps in one stage to 3, and now we get positive climb, so we'll bring that gear up, and it's going to target a speed of just above the app basically, and up it goes, and then it's going to turn into a normal takeoff. So we've got Mantoga SRS go around track. I don't want to go around track, I want to follow this line that we carefully drew out earlier, so I'm going to push one dot and make it go to nav. So by pushing that, it goes into nav mode. A lot of modern Airbuses do that automatically these days. It used to be that you had to do it like this. Right, there we go. Through acceleration altitude, so we get the lever climb message. Thrust climb. Auto thrust is engaged. 1,000 feet to go. As you see, it comes up quite quickly at full thrust. And some of these altitudes are lower than this one. This is a bit of a high one. Through S-speed. Flaps 2 notches now to 1 because we were at flap 3. So we did flap 3 takeoff. Next step, flaps to 0. Loads of performance. Absolutely love the Neo. Actually, green dot speed is 226. That's interesting. So we're actually a bit tight to try and fly around clean at our exact green dot speed, which we can see here on the go around page. So I think I'm going to leave flap 1 out. And there we go. You'll see the flaps auto retract and we just have slats now, which is ideal. Soft go around, Edward, is not modelled. I did have a go earlier. It's not in this version that I'm using today. Yeah, you get that definite view of the, yeah, there's the gearbox just there. So the closer you get, harder it is to see. First time I flew on one of these as a passenger, I noticed other passengers were commenting on how quiet it was. So it does make a difference. Nope, there's no way to dump fuel on this 321 NEO. Which is, you know, it's an interesting point. When you start getting to the point where you can have 30 tons of fuel, I wonder what you would do. So this time, let's go and do a non-precision approach and land. Then we can change a few things around, change the engines, try starting up those other ones and do a rejected takeoff. What else was I thinking of doing? What else do I need to talk about? Just looking at my lists. Good. So what do you guys want to do? Should we do an RNAV or a VOR? We're going over to the hold at Netro, which is absolutely fine. So let's have a look. No, thank you. Approach, good. We're going to be on 14 right. So we've done the RNS. Shall we do? I don't know. Let us know. Let us know. What do you guys want to do? RNAV or VOR? We could do an auto land. All sorts of things. RNAV, VOR. Okay, cool. VOR's won that one. VOR 14 right. Final approach. There we go. Magic is there's not so much difference unless we do it manually. We can try and do it manually. Why not? So let's tune this in. Arrival. VOR 14 right. Let's go via. Is there a Netro? Via Netro. Excellent. So look at that. Oh wow, and it's got the proper arc. Okay, so let's go direct to Tango Lima Bravo. Oh, that's not worked at all. That has not worked at all. Forget that. We're going to heading. Oh, well, let's radar spectra ourselves for the VOR. That'll be no problem. So, VOR approach. What is the platform altitude? It's a 3,000 feet platform. Just 11%, down to 3,000. We've still got flap 1 out, so I'm going to go into selected speed to make sure we don't end up overspeeding that. Getting that flashing VDEV scale because I've got the LS buttons up, so let's turn that off both sides, which is gone. Oh, nav like a pirate. Toga says, do you know the maximum takeoff weight and maximum landing weight for this beast? Now, I do, only because I looked it up just before the stream and ToLiss put it on their forum. Depending on which version you're in, the normal Neo is max landing at 79.2, max takeoff at 93.5 tons. If you want the 321 long range, which is also included, that takeoff weight is 97 tons, and the best of all, A321 extra long range, 101 tons. 101 tons. What's new about the XLR wings? Yeah, what we'll do is we'll go into the XLR next, and we'll do that XLR and the other engines together. There's a radio altimeter, which makes sense. Heading downwind, we don't need to be going there. So, right, VOR approach. So I've got it tuned in there. Now I need to tune the VOR here. It's based on the Toulouse VOR 1177. Put it there. Inbound course of 144. So I'm going to put 144 into course. Progress page, let's have LFBO14 right. Just as a backup. Lovely stuff. And I'll do this a bit of an old school way. Let's draw out a centre line from CD14 right. So it's not quite the same as the RLS because it's slightly offset because the VOR won't be perfectly in line, although it's pretty good actually. The VOR is here, it's on a final approach, so that's quite interesting. So the DME is going to decrease, and then 1 mile before 2 we need to be at 1730 over the Toulouse VOR 1410, and 1 mile after 1090, so the DME is going to start counting up again on the other side. So this is quite an interesting one. So we're going to do our radial in 324 in there, and insert. Pull that to make sure we stay in heading. That's fine. Good. Activate the approach phase. It's time to land. Just check the gear and attitude is still 4,000 feet for this one. Metro 4,000. Yeah, excellent. And minima 950. Continuous descent final approach is what we're going to do. 950. Some of you might be a bit bored of seeing these non-precision approaches, so I do apologise if that's the case. So, air traffic could radar vector you to a VR approach. You don't have to fly the whole arrival, it depends on what they do and what's safe. So I can see at 8 miles I need to be getting myself onto that radial, the 144. No, it's not the radial, the track towards the VOR of 144. I can display the VOR here, I've got the needle here, Toulouse VOR. Let's just check I've got everything in here. So we've done the flight plan, done the RadNav, done the progress, done perf, fuel, secondary. Good, so MCDU setup is done. What we're going to do now is fly ourselves onto that VOR. So let's get ourselves onto that track, and then we'll start our descent from 3,000 feet at 5 miles. Let's go. Now there are loads of things you need to check. I have videos on doing a VOR approach in Track FPA, which is what I'll use here. So if you like, go to my channel and that will have that on there for you. So the Airbus is a bit funny. You can't actually make it follow a VOR radial. You can on loads of other aircraft. It's a really common feature, but the Airbus won't let you do it. The reason is you can do it in a more standard Airbus way, which would be, see this green line I've drawn? I can effectively just make the airplane fly onto that line in nav mode. Now there are reasons you may not be allowed to use nav mode, for example if your GPS wasn't working properly or something like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to join the line using nav mode, and then I'm going to swap over to Track FPA and fly it in Track FPA and track the VOR using good old VOR navigation, which is here. So this is showing me my inbound course. The blue line is the deviation, so I can see to get onto that radial of the VOR, the Toulouse VOR. Let's go to that second one, I only want one. If you have too many needles pointing at the same thing, it just gets confusing on the screen. And I'm going to fly myself until that blue line is in the middle. So I need to keep flying right to get to it. Yes, Papa, good to see you. Yes, Papa, our Discord admin, thanks for coming along. You'll see also this white needle moving because it's slowly going to come left because we're flying right to push it left, as it were. Let's go to manage speed, come back to S speed. Nice day today. Maybe we'll change the weather for the next little flight. So with the bus, we'll do a vertical navigation on VOR approach. Well, I could simply arm approach and it would fly the whole VOR itself. That's what this little green bar is helpful for. It effectively does that. So if you like, I can show you that. If you want, I can show a final app approach, which I have a video on as well on the channel. So now let's get ourselves inbound on that radial. So you'd come to some sort of intercept heading, usually about 30 degrees, something like that. About 1.5 miles from intercept is a good place to do it. But what I can also do is checking that the next waypoint is in front of me, CD14 right is white and it's written up there. If I just push that now, it'll go into nav and you'll see it draw itself or fly itself onto this line. If I go to VOR on here, you'll actually see that it's doing my job for me. To stay on this line, I just need to keep my track, which is this green diamond, on the radial. So now you can see we've gone through. We're actually slightly right of track because the blue line has gone to the left. So we're going to need to get that green diamond left of our inbound course, which the airplane is going to do itself because it's trying to fly in nav mode. Okay, 5,000 feet we're going to descend. That's when we start our descent at 3,000 feet. We start our descent at 5 miles from the VOR. Remember, that's not 5 miles to landing, that's 5 miles to the VOR because the DME starts counting out. So there we go. So thankfully the Airbus is doing everything for me. Shortly I will start to take over. So I've got 5 miles till I'm descending roughly. We're flap 1, so let's go to flap 2. There's our vertical deviation scale, because now it's expecting to be at 3,000 feet. So hopefully that will stop with us. And you'll see, Mr. Espresso, you'll see this VDEV scale stay with us for the whole approach, which will just show that it, you know, if I armed, all I'd have to do is press approach, and it would go into app nav final, and then it would go into final app green, and it would just fly the whole thing itself. It's brilliant. Okay, let's put the gear down. Ground spoilers armed. Lights already on, never turned them off. No problem. And nose right up there. It does happen, sometimes you're on final approach. Neos also have slower approach speeds. So you do find they feel slightly different on final approach. The picture out the window is definitely different. Samuel 500, thanks for your subscription. Right, let's go to flaps 3. Let's go to track FBA. And I can leave it in nav and let it fly the inbound course in nav. It's not really going to make much difference. Alternatively, if I just pull track and leave it on 143, which is my inbound track, or 144 it should have been actually, so let's put that to 144, and it will just be a case of doing that. Right. Oh, putting the wrong buttons now. So now we're at 5.3, so I need to pull 3 degrees down. Let me just check it was actually 3 degrees. Very important part of this is that you know your descent angle. Yeah, 3 degrees. And now we're fully configured, sending, and it's going to just fly 3 degrees for me. It's great. I can see I'm on 144 now on here, so my green diamond lines up with that radial, and the white arrow is also pointing straight ahead. The vertical profile I should check myself, so 4 miles to the VOR, 2680, 26, it's slightly low possibly, but that's slightly late counting. Let's do 3 miles, 2360. Ding dong for the cabin crew, as we said earlier. Show me the best card of Joel. Yeah, exactly. So 3 miles, 2360. Something to notice in terms of tracking, it's going to get really sensitive now as we head to the VOR. If you're really close to the VOR, like we're about to be, it gets really sensitive. And as we go overhead, it's going to lose signal. So I don't want to make any too big corrections. So 2 degrees left, maybe only 1 degree left. No point making myself make it more difficult. Oh, I missed that altitude check as well. Looks like we're a bit low, because this VDEV scale is just going above us now. 2 miles, 2050. Miles, yeah, slightly low, so maybe 20 feet low, just go 2.8 for a mile. 1 mile, 1730. Yeah, still 20 feet low, so let's do 2.7. It's just shadowing out. Oh. Soon we'll go over the VOR, so I'm not going to make any major changes now, because that is about to be used as information, because obviously we're above the VOR now.
1,000.
We are stable and visual with 1-4 right. Right, let's get rid of all this. And you'll see now. Let's set that back to 3 degrees for our final approach. We're back on profile. There goes the needle. We lose all information because we've gone through it, and now it comes back and it starts to count up. Autopilot off. Flight director's off. Bird is on the 143 for touchdown. And now we'll do it visually. Okay, landing the Neo. So we got all the excuses in, no problem. I just need to keep that bird sitting on that 5 degree line. That'll be a 3 degree approach because the wing is the actual angle. Alternatively, my vertical speed, 800 feet per minute, is 3 degrees because we're doing about 150 knots over the grounds. Somewhere between 700 and 800 feet per minute.
500.
Let's see if I can get this right.
400.
And hopefully the brakes work. You'll see that change. I think it changes from brake medium to green when it activates. Getting slightly high, 3 whites. Just keeping that rate of descent. We've gone to 700, but not enough.
200.
Here there's engines sporting up and down, correcting my bad flying.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard. 10. 5.
Hold it there. Reverses, spoilers, reverse, green decel. There we go. Nope, that's not good, is it? Let's try that view. 70 knots, reverse idle. And here we are, back on the ground. But don't worry, it's not over yet. We're going to taxi to the side, change our aeroplane around. It's that easy. Let's get those reverses in, and we'll have another go. Have a look at a few other things. Just get ourselves clear of the runway. So we'll try out the the Pratt & Whitney engine. How fast we go? 20 knots. Yeah, so for the landing, there is actually a slightly different rotate. Sorry, not rotate. There's a different landing law in the real A321 NEO. It doesn't land in the same way. Now the landing laws are quite complicated in the real Airbus, and it doesn't quite do exactly the same thing in the 321 NEO as it does in the CEO or even the A320 NEO. But I don't think that's modelled, and we don't think about it when we're flying. We just fly the aircraft as we need to. Okay, let's bring it to a stop here. Oh yeah, check the toilets. Okay, there's the brakes. So why are my brakes? They just seem to release at the last second, and I don't understand why. I think it's going to work for rejected takeoff. It must be. I must have a setting not quite right in here. Flaps. Let's bring those flaps up. Turn off some lights. Right. Oh yes, the toilets. Oh, is there a toilet? Now there should be one at the front, so we don't need to go all the way to the back. Oh no. Oh no. Not here. Sadly not. The A300 has treated us very well with its onboard toilets. It looks like it's not modelled in this one. So let us change the engine. So I'm going to start the APU. And let's just see if we can find this motoring thing for the Pratt & Whitneys, because that is modelled, and I'm sure they put a lot of effort to modelling that. Mr. Espresso says, is some type of approach RNAV or VOR still preferable over the other, assuming GPS accuracy is high and VOR signal is fine too? Yeah, RNAV tends to be able to have lower minima, so in worse weather an RNAV tends to be a bit better, but it does depend. RNAVs can also be made obviously without nav aids working, so if the VOR breaks you can still fly an RNAV approach. RNAVs are definitely the more modern thing, more common. Leaf, no problem at all. Yeah, X-Plane is full of great things, absolutely. Rejected takeoff, that's what we'll do next, absolutely. Right. XLR. Come on, APU. There it is. That's available. APU bleed on. Engines off. Disarm those. Those are up. Great. And swap over the engines. It's this easy. Brown & Whitney, thank you very much. There they are. Slightly different. Get those strobes off as well. So I wonder how starting these up works, or what's different about it. So let's just think through. Let me just check things in the rough light place. Again, we don't do this like this in real life. Obviously, you've got all your checklists and procedures that would be followed. You'd be very careful when you're doing abnormal things like this to get it all in the right order. And you'd follow the checklist meticulously, obviously. But we're just going to try out starting up these engines. So, we've got the APU, we've got APU bleed. I don't know if the 319 NEO will exist in ToLiss. I don't know if ToLiss are adding the NEO to the 319. There's not many of those in real life. I don't think I've ever seen one. Dual cooling should appear next to the manual start switches. There it is. Ah, Thomas. Well done, Thomas. Thomas knows a lot about the Airbus. So these Pratt & Whitney engines I haven't seen before. So this is all good guess. So I'm going to assume nothing. Is the engine start time longer? Yes, it is when they're hot. So curious, actually. Well, I don't know. We've changed engines now, but if this was the Pratt & Whitney, the Leap, sorry, you would have to let them. They would motor on their own for a little bit. There'd be a slower startup. Mr. Finn, thanks for subscribing. The BSS has toilet fan sounds, yeah. So I'm not using BSS for this stream. We're doing this using the ToLiss sound effects. Right. Let us. Thank you for your subscriptions. To oh, I missed one, Mr. Finn. Right. So I do not know the procedure here. Does Thomas know? Thomas, how are we going to sort out the cooling? If I go to ignition start, dual cooling. Nope. Do I go to crank? Because to use crank, you normally have to use the manual engine start. Nope. Probably a good thing, or it'd be too easy to accidentally do it. Or do I just press it? Spirit is the only carrier that's ordered them, and they don't have any yet, and only 2 have been delivered. Ah, there you go. Yeah, not many at all. Brake fan for RTO. Yeah, just put the brake fans on. You can take off with the temperature up to... Oh, that's very hot, actually. Yeah, 300 degrees is the limit on the brakes. If you've got the brake fans on, 150 degrees is the limits. Press dual cool, and then start engine. Okay, so we've pressed dual cool, so we'll go through a normal startup. That would seem a sensible way to do it, wouldn't it? But there it goes, cooling. And it's doing both, even though I've only put one master switch on. Wow, this is great. And that's something new every day. Thanks, Thomas. Lee Yuki is enjoying it, but the 321 does not come with the NEO just yet. That's coming another day. It's December the 15th is the planned release date. So how long is it going to cool for? Oh, look, it counts down. Wow, you don't get any of this on the Leaps. Let's go to the hydraulic page. Yeah, a little bit of pressure because they're turning. So you get some pressure in the system, which is probably what's confusing the PTU. Very good. M1 isn't spinning. I don't know if it would. I don't know if that's a bug to be sorted or not. No, M1s aren't spinning. It's just doing N2 at a tiny rate. 10% N2 is just nothing. Thanks for subscription to Ollie89B. That's the one. So what we'll do is, we're in the XLR now, so we can go from this to have a look at those flaps as well, and then we'll get ourselves up for a rejected takeoff. Right, another 20 seconds to go. Someone asking about Flight Simulator 2020. Yeah, one day, Aria, I will do Flight Simulator 2020. We do group flights on the channel, and the 320 is getting close. The only problem is they update it so often, Microsoft as well, that it's concerning. Oh, there you go, brakes hot caution. That's no problem. That I don't want to be set to stream it and then have it all update and not work. Right, so I've started engine 2. Engine 1 is spooling down. Engine 2 should hopefully just turn on now, I suppose. Nice and cool EGT, so that has worked. Yeah, the fly-by-wire team doing a great job on the 320 NEO in Microsoft Flight Simulator, absolutely. Tech Fan says the starter only drives N2, that's why there's no N1. It only drives N2, but the starter motor can turn N1 on all the other engines anyway. But it usually turns N2 at a higher speed than 10%. So I don't know if there's a way that this engine actually just starts it or can motor at a lower N2. Do I need to turn that off? There's a veil. I do apologise, everyone expecting a serious stream where I show you how to use these things. I was just wanting to show you some of these features. I mean, we've already cooled the engine, so I don't think we need any more. Let's turn that off. Start engine 1. So N2 normally goes above 10, you see. Let's see what it does. Yeah, it seems to limit itself to a lower N2. So in the real aircrafts, N2 goes up 15-20%, and then that will actually start turning N1 slowly, typically, unless you've got a strong tailwind or something. But you want N1 spinning before you add fuel. There you go, so N1 just starting to tick over, and then, oh sorry, not that one. N1 spinning, and then fuel will be added and it will start to accelerate. Oh yeah, that's the start, there we go. Camera view to see what our lucky passengers get to look at with the Pratt & Whitney. There you go. Slightly bigger. It does look slightly even bigger, doesn't it? Thanks for your subscription to Aria. Well, I'm glad the streams go by. And yes, planning to stream DCS. I know I keep saying that. There's just been so much happening in Flight Simulator World, and X-Plane World, so it will come. I am still regularly flying the F-14 to make sure I am hopefully getting better at it. Right, that started. Let's go back to norm. Oh, norm. Off. Yes, off. Right, and we're going to... Actually, let's put those flaps out a bit more. Let's put them to 3. I think that will show it off. We can take off flap 3. So there you go. They're double-slotted Fowler flaps here. So there's a slot there, just underneath the spoilers. There's one slot where the air can get over the flap. And then there's another slot here. On the inboard part, that should also be the same. But as this is the XLR, they've taken it away. And I can swap it over. Let's see if we can get it on the screen. Neo XLR, Neo, there's the second slot. Long range the same. XLR, they got rid of it. Helps keep the weight down, I suppose. Less complexity. And then a bit more range. Luke, about to go to work from Queensland, Australia. Fantastic part of the world. I hope you're having a good time down in Queensland, and I hope you have a good day at work. Right, good. ToLiss. So, and look, here we go. We can change the config as well. Let's have a single overwing exit. Right, loading perf. Stick on a bit more fuel. Let's go up to 14 tons. Quick refuel. Apply. Takeoff config 3. See, I'm always a bit suspicious of these higher speeds. I still think they're slightly too fast. So we go to fuel prediction. It's got the correct weight. It's taken off at 83 tons. Yeah, so let's do another flap 1 takeoff. We're going to reject anyway. Bit of a heavy takeoff. And obviously you wouldn't do this after engines are running, but we are going to today. Flex 39, a more normal flex temperature there. Speeds 161. Nice high speeds. This would be a serious reject. 161, 164. So when you reject a takeoff, what are we doing? Well, we're stopping the airplane on the runway. We can only do that before V1. V1 is our decision speed. Above V1, we must continue. We must take off. Today, V1 is the same as our rotate speed. So the reason is, because we need to start rotating, we cannot stop. However, sometimes V1 might be 10 knots, 20 knots lower than rotate speed, especially on long-haul aircraft, like this is, I suppose. So if that happens, you may have a situation where you're above V1, your engine fails, and you have to stay on the runway until you reach your rotate speed. So the airplanes are certified for that. That's just part of our training. We all practice that sort of thing. No problem. But yeah, quite an interesting situation to be in, I would imagine. Take a config. Ah, there you go. It's warning us. Brakes are at 370. But what I can do is ping one of the cabin crew. Let's get all our lights on as if we're about to line up. So we're ready to go. And I will run through the checklist just to make sure I don't miss anything. This is in the beta version. This Neo. Before takeoff then, let's do another flight controls while I wait for those brakes to cool down. Full left, full right, neutral, full down, full up, neutral, and full left, full right, neutral. Flight instruments we need to check, so we've got to get those flight directors back on. There we go, and oh yeah, we need a route. Dun, dun, dun. That's not good. It hasn't dumped the last route. It normally would after landing. Okay. No problem. Let's get rid of the routes. Just retyping in the departure and arrival. 14 right. And we'll do the same one. Seems to take us off in the right direction. Doesn't really matter too much. Out. Inserts. Okay, so hopefully I'll do that. There we go. Climb nav blue 152, brake max blue up to 5,000 feet. Just jumping into the chat. See if I've missed anything. What does takeoff config do? Does it just check flaps or does it do more? It checks a few things. Check that this trim is in range. It did there. It warned me about the brake temperatures. You see, by pressing takeoff config, it reminds us the brakes are too hot still. All sorts of things. Is there a way to just sort out those brake temperatures? Is there an instant reset? It's quite realistic, but a little bit unnecessary today. We may take that as a given and ignore it. Ooh, that's not good. That is a glitch that's, again, has been around for a little while in my explain. So, new sound effects. Let's have a listen. See what the passengers think of that. Good question. Says, in the real world, you have to taxi around until the brakes cool down. No, so taxiing is no good for cooling the brakes down. You want to sit still, ideally with the brakes off, because by using the brakes they'll keep heating up. So we're going to pretend this isn't like this. It may give us a warning on takeoff though. That's the only problem with that. I suppose it could be a reason to reject. But I'm going to do it from a slightly higher speed because if you do the reject too slow, the spoilers won't come up and therefore the auto brake won't activate and you'll have to take over yourself. But if you're fast enough, the spoilers and the auto brakes will work for you. Right, not there. So we should get good sound effects anyway. Let's do the cabin, takeoff config. Someone's asking why are we rejecting? Well, we said we'd do it earlier and we didn't, so I thought I'd do it now. So you guys need to use TARA. Sounds like a whale, says Revo. Yeah, yeah, it does. It's an interesting sound, isn't it? So we don't go too far. Where's the taxiing the way back up now? Yeah, there we go. And this is something they do on these aircraft when they're brand new. Yep. Jaden says, I was wondering, I really want to get the A321, the usual one, without the mod for Christmas for $80. Do you think it's worth it or not? It depends how much time you spend flying airliners in X-Plane. It's a really good add-on, and it's I really like the Airbus, obviously, but it's not. There's people in the chat who will know the value compared to other add-ons, so I'll let them answer for me. I think it's great, and I've used it a lot, and I think it's a really good product. Greetings from Beirut. How do you know what pitch trim to set? If you go to the MCDU, fuel prediction, CG 28.5, gross weight CG. Now that's a gross weight CG whilst you're taxiing, but it's very similar. So 28.5, which is pretty much where we are. Okay, I think what we'll do is we'll take off, and then we'll do a circuit back round, and we'll do a rejected takeoff, circuit back round to land, then we'll have a replay to end on, and then that'll be us for today with our sneak peek, first look at this NEO add-on. Okay, before takeoff checklist then. Let's not go over there, let's get this right. Let's get onto the runway and then do it. Oh, you can hear them spooling up and whining as we go, that's great. It's a bit frustrating about these brake temperatures down here. Hoping they can sort themselves out soon. If you often end up with one brake hotter than the other, so if that happens, sometimes we try and you sit still, and then you can just use the brake pedals and just use one of the brakes. We won't do that today though. Right. So before takeoff, check this flight controls. We've checked, flight instruments checked, briefing confirmed. We're going to do our reject. Flaps settings config 1% in there, and config. Oh dear. Not even close to ready. Sorry guys, this is not normal for this stream. We normally do everything very properly, but we're just managing with swapping around and doing things a bit different for the sake of the new add-on today. I think it's just because I changed the flight plan, which would do this. It would drop all the information. 164. That's why it's in the checklist. So there it is. Good. FMA takeoff data is set, transponder set, eco memo is almost at takeoff, no blue. We just need to wait for those brakes. I think they're not going to do it, so we'll just have to deal without those. We'll pretend that isn't there. Cabin secured, engine mode select normal, TCAS TRA packs are on. Okay. Let's get ourselves going. Oh, you might hear the cat waking up outside. Yeah, so we may get a warning actually. We'll see if we get that warning as we go. Curious. But we're going to reject. So what I'll do is I'll say stop. I'll bring the thrust levers straight back to idle. Then we'll go to maximum reverse. We'll see if the brakes have actually engaged. We should see the max brake come up with a decel light. You might see it engage on the PFD as well. And then it will come screeching to a halt. And we're going to stop in line with the runway. Nice gentle headwind today for that. Right, I'll stop talking. We'll hear some engine noise. There's that ding, so we're going to disregard that on the basis that we know that shouldn't be there. The simulator just won't let us clear it. It's 80 to 100, nice to neutral. Huge long takeoff roll. Look at those speeds. And stop. So, brake max is engaged. Get the max reverse out. Got decel on the auto brakes. And we are decelling. Amazing deceleration rate. Bring it to a stop. Get those reverses to forward idle. Set the parking brake. And I won't go through everything else that we would do from here. There's a whole flow of things, obviously. But there you go. I know they do test that. Probably not at the weight we're at, but It's amazing, really, isn't it? The ability of these things to stop at max auto brake is so pronounced. So pronounced. They really do come screeching to a halt. Right, I wonder, let's try out a good old ToLiss feature. Here we are. Autosave situation, back at the start. Wooding says you should add your HOTAS and other stuff to the specs. Yeah, that's a good point. I should probably do that. The question does come up a lot. That was the captain's cat, absolutely. You would really feel that in the harness, yeah. And the passengers would be really surprised. It does happen every now and then, a rejected takeoff like that. It does happen. Right, what we're going to do this time is I think we'll do a visual circuit. So let's set that up in here. 1-4 right, and then we're going to arrive. What I'll do actually is I'm going to arrival. Oh, that's 1-4 right. Let's just put that in like that and head downwind. We'll do a left-hand circuit as I'm in the left-hand seat. We know about that caution, but we're not going to worry too much about that. So let's take off using the Pratt & Whitney engines and see how they feel and how they sound. We'll just go up to 2,000 feet for a circuit. We'll do 3,000 feet for a circuit downwind to join the ILS back and land. I have not, thankfully, had to reject a takeoff in real life. Thankfully, it is very rare situation. Right, that's good enough for the arrival. Great. Okay, guys, so let's go again. Takeoff. Let's go. We're going to get that same caution, so we'll disregard that. We know why it's happening. Where we go then, there's nav, put in that autopilot. Slightly different sound, sounds like a deeper sort of noise to me. I don't know what you guys think. And we'll just go to 3,000 feet. I'm going to pull heading because we're going to turn downwind very shortly. Need to check we're below the max landing weight as well actually. There we go, through 1,000. Speed out start, auto thrust. Now this is an interesting situation. We're in out start. And it's only got climb thrust available, so you could end up getting low speed, so be very careful here. We're changing thrust or retracting flaps. Mr. Dillon, we did dual cooling slightly earlier in the stream, so you can rewind it slightly and have a watch of that. Let's take ourselves downwind then. I'm going to activate the approach phase now. Activate approach. This is pretty similar to how I do my visual circuit tutorial. We're at 82.9. Let me just check. I think it's too heavy. Yeah, 79.2. Brakes hot if performance permits. Landing gear down for cool. It does actually say that. It does say that. And you can do it, and it will stay out in the air. It'll be nice and cool. So let's do 210, and I'm just going to cheat because we're a bit too heavy. 76.9. There we go. We're actually at a landing weight we can use. Let's turn downwind. Gonna need 323 roughly. Do it in track. 323. There we go. Approach phase is activated, so I can manage the speeds. No problem, Dougal. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for moderating. Have a good evening. Abraham says, have you done an aborted landing in the 321 on this channel? I've done a go-around, several go-arounds, and aborted landing. No, I don't think we've done one live. I think I may have done them in a video. In fact, I'm sure I have. And we'll get ourselves downwind now. Visual circuit's great fun. Great fun. Let's bring up the LS just as a backup for this. So we have the ILS in the background. Got the approach phase activated. MD I'm going to clear out because we're already visual, we're not going to use that. And what I can do is... I won't fiddle with it too much actually. And then I'm having to reprogram everything, it'd be a bit of a mess. But a nice 1500 foot circuit downwind. I don't know what Airbus do with their real airplanes. Irish Aviator says you should get the Thrustmaster A320 throttle quadrant with all add-ons inside it. Yeah, that would be fun. I don't know if they're available very easily at the moment. So we won't turn this into a pure visual approach now because I'll just I'll have to recode the approach in the box. But we can do a nice tight circuit. Let's draw it out. Flight plan, fixed info, LFBO 14 right. Again, I've got a tutorial on visual circuits if you'd like one, available on the channel. One of the last videos I did, I think, before Microsoft Flight Simulator came out. So we're a bit high actually. Yeah, we need to be down to 2,000. Let's go down. Thrust idle open descent. Then we'll be 1,500 feet above the runway. That makes more sense. So from 1,500 feet, I'm going to time about 45 seconds after that blue line. 14 right over there. It's amazing. It's great, the ToLiss. There's just so many things you can do with it, like drawing these lines out that make life so easy. Or easier, I should say. We'll have medium water brake. We'll have low water brake for this landing. And it's probably not going to sequence correctly.
2,000.
That's fine. Radio altimeter agrees. 2,000 feet, no problem. Yeah, they aren't available, says checkpoint. Yeah, no, I didn't think I'd be able to get one. Okay, beam, start the clock. Gonna let it level off. Waiting for 45 seconds plus or minus wind, so actually about 40 seconds. I'll probably make a complete mess of this, so I do apologise if that happens. Seconds to go. Let's take out the autopilot. So autopilot off, flight directors off. We already have the bird, and let's set the runway track of 143. Four seconds to go. Start the turn. Now this may not work. I'm not sure how well set up we are compared to our way out. Anyway, let's put gear down, flaps to 2. And we'll just bring ourselves around for our final approach for a landing. Then we can have a replay and enjoy, hopefully, some nice sound effects from these engines. Yeah, we're a bit wider out than we would be for a normal visual. Yeah, the ND does, the timings in the ND seem a bit confused. I did see that. Flaps to 3, still don't need to descend. So this is a bit wider than a real circuit, or a real visual circuit anyway. Okay, there we go. Starting to come in onto final, flaps to full. Start shallow descent. Pick up that glide slope. It's normally much easier to see the runway in real life because of course you haven't got this, you can lean below the window. That's a bit too much rate of descent. There we go. There's 2 whites, 2 reds. There's the center line. This is the magic of that fly-by-wire system we looked at right at the start. Thank you guys for sticking with us for so long. This has been a full-on 2-hour stream again, so thanks for staying. Stable at 1,000 feet. Oh yeah, ding dong the cabin crew, who won't have had much fun on this flight. We've gone nowhere. We've shaken around and all sorts of fun things. The table does not come out, sadly. I'm still waiting for an X-Plane or Microsoft Flight Simulator add-on with the table folding out, because I remember having a table fold out in Flight Simulator X, so it must be possible. It must be. And there we go. Bit like we were earlier with the VOR approach. We've got the track, got a flight path angle. See, it's slightly left of that track and we're going left, so let's get it back to the right. I do like the sound of these Pratt & Whitneys. It does sound slightly throatier, slightly deeper.
400. 300.
And now I'm not having to do anything. The magic, again, of that normal law is just great. Really great.
200.
Seems to be getting a bit high. I always say I think X-planes glide slopes are too sensitive at this point.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard. 10. Retard. 5.
Oh, bit of an overflare. Hold it there. Touchdown. Reverses. Reverse green, hopefully. Spoilers. Reverse green. Decel. There we go. And rolling out. And I'll just take it clear of the runway. We'll go to the right to Airbus's head office and then we can wrap up for the day. Brilliant. So there you go. That's a quick look. Thank you to ToLiss for providing the beta version here of the NEO engine. So ToLiss did provide that, and I'm really grateful to them and really happy to be able to show you guys, because I know it's been something that we've been excited about on my channel since I started the channel back in the spring, shortly after, well, not long after the 321 was released by ToLiss. So it's great to see it come along and have some of these extra features. Like I say, we've had some changes to the ECAM. They've included some changes to the PFT. I've got those engine sounds and so on. So this should be available, I think it's December the 15th, to those of you wondering. As I said, this is not the final version we're using today, so there could be some changes, some differences. Let's get those reverses in, and we'll go and have ourselves a bit of a replay. I don't know if you can hear that whine, that whale noise, just as you spool up. It's really cool. That's great. That's great. Right, let's bring it to a stop. I must fix my brakes. There we go. I don't think I can't think of anything particularly NEO related for the shutdown, and I don't want to keep you guys any longer. So thank you all for coming along. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you to everyone watching and chatting. Thank you, of course, to the people who've so kindly donated towards the channel throughout the stream, and everyone for coming along and supporting us just by watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. There'll be more videos coming in the near future. Let us jump back, do a bit of a replay. So, oh, here we go. Ideal. So, first of all, not plugins, view, external runway. Let's see if we can get the right runway. Let's have a watch of this landing. Those big Pratt & Whitney engines. Also, of course, we get that goggles, although I think I've got that on a few of my aircraft in this sim now. One of the best looking short haul aircraft, I think, the 321 NEO with its big engines. Bit of a float. Down we go. Reverses out. See those big threads on the tyres, much healthier looking tyres than we had before. Right, and as ever, oh, let's get this right because it's such a long fast day. Okay, so guys, I'm going to leave you with some music and a passenger view of a NEO landing. As ever, thank you very much for coming along, and I look forward to seeing you again in another stream soon, or another video. I've got a video coming out tomorrow, I'm hoping, on RNAVs. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon. Have a good evening. Thank you all. Bye-bye.